I'm smooth with it. They don't call me Killer Mike for nothing. Anyways.
That's another AKA.
That's another one. I just, yeah.
We don't need any more. We don't need any more.
They've creeped into the mid-show. You're going to love this.
I want to hear it. I'm objective. You're critical.
Anico at the disco.
He's positive. Join the Mixtape 615.
Today, tomorrow, yesterday.
It is the dopest supporter group in all of Nashville.
Never. Testing. 3, 2, 1. Reverse that thing. This is the Mixtape 615, and right now, this is the place to be. If you're a Nashville Soccer Club fan, if you love Nashville and all of its soccer ways, or you're just trying to learn a little bit more, then we want you in the mix. We want everybody in the mix. All right, check it out. Let's lock in. It's time for the infamous. Or are they famous now? I don't even know. AKAs. They're still infamous. All right, whatever. Let's get into it. I'm Tunji. You know who that is. AKA Young Turtle. AKA D Soccer Face. AKA SF Doom. AKA the Big Kahuna and the Little Tuna Sandwich. AKA Steam Papi. Yamame. Steam Papi. AKA Mr. Too Lit on a Wednesday night because it's half off whiskeys at Southside Kitchen, the pub. And I just got a paycheck. AKA Mississippi Mai Tais on this beach in the Belize feeling cool like a summer breeze. AKA the dude with the cleanest pair of Jordan 1s you ever did see. Also known as the golden boy with the golden voice. Once again, this is a Mixtape 615 podcast. Austin, tell them who you is.
What's up? I am Austin, aka Wild Mane, aka Ginger Snap, aka the Fumbling Dublin, aka Redbeard, and AKA Chicky Parm Parm.
Chicky Parm Parm.
And we got one other co-host. What's up, Logan? Tell them who you are.
Hey, everybody. This is Logan, a.k.a. Beer Main. And the only other one I'm going to add, just because I feel like I look at today, is like a Bill Belichick lookalike. But that's about it.
Bill Belichick lookalike. Thank you, Mr. Belichick.
Oh, you're on Patriots. Blah, blah, blah.
What do you think about NSC, Mr. Belichick?
It's good defense. That's what I really like is good defense. They play solid.
That was really insightful. Thank you, Mr. Belichick. All right.
But this is the Mixtape 615 podcast today, brought to you by the Mixtape 615 supporter group, the dopest supporter group in all of Nashville, in all of the MLS, in all of the world. Ooh. We are the dopest, and we want you in the mix, just like Tunji was saying at the top of the hour. We want you in the mix
right now.
And you can do that by joining us on mixtape615.com. That is right mixtape615.com. You can jump in, join in as a member. Yep. We want you to do it. We want you to be a part of us. You could also join us on all of our socials and follow us that way through Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, Facebook. We want you a part of all of that as well, so you can see all the upcoming stuff. You can actually watch this podcast if you are not already doing so on youtube.com/mixtape pod. That is POD. Excuse me, Mixtape 615.
Get it right, bro.
Mixtape 615 pod. That is POD as in podcast. So join us there. We want you in with us. It's an awesome time. How are you guys doing today?
Dude, swell.
I think it's the first time we've ever asked that question.
Yeah, it is. It feels good. You guys always just come at me with soccer questions, and I'm just like caught off guard. No one ever, no one ever wants to know how I'm doing.
Hey,
how are you doing, Tunji? How are you doing, Tunji?
Well, my back aches, and no, it's just that classic.
All right, we're cutting Tunji. No.
Oh no.
Well, hey, I just want to point out that Logan said we want you part of us.
Yes, us.
He said we want you part of us.
It's our family.
Mixtape's our family, man.
Yeah. Let's talk about some soccer.
We want
guys.
you part of us. Logan, Logan, why don't you take us into a game rewind?
All right, everybody. Well, Nashville SC versus Orlando just happened. Their fourth playoff in 4 years for Nashville, and they started this playoff run in Orlando, but sadly this ended in a 1-0 draw for 1-0 loss for the boys in gold. And our boys did look a little rough around the edges It wasn't great. Tunji, I know our boys had a hard time finishing in the final third. Gary did address this in his post-match interview, but I want to know what you think about what he said. Do you think that the strikers have a little bit of lack of confidence in their play, or is there other factors that are at play right now that are keeping them from scoring?
I think that, I mean, it's harsh coming from a guy with a British accent, but it's true. That's how you know it's true. You know what I mean? It hurt, and it was true. But also, I was like, dude, this is your guys. Like, how are you gonna say that they're not confident? But like, I think that's the style of coach that he is. He does play these mind games, or just keeps it real with his players. When I look at what happened during that game, yeah, I mean, I thought that we played a bad game. I actually, when you go back and watch and you go back and look and see what actually happened, we didn't play that bad. We actually had a higher shot accuracy at 42%, 3 shots on goal versus 7 shots, compared to Orlando's 5 shots on goal, but they are 20, but they took 25 shots. So that's a 20% pass accuracy versus our 42. Yeah, at that point, when you look at the rest of the stats, we really should have won that game. We weren't too far off on anything else. Yeah, they had a higher possession, but that actually meant that we were playing the game we wanted to play. So if we can't finish, we're not going to move on in the playoffs. That's just simple and plain. And right now, it looks like the guys who are supposed to be our finishers that we're paying to finish either forgot how to finish or are too scared to finish. That's what it looked like to me. So I agree with Gary.
Yeah, and I'll point out too, you pointed out the shots on goal. Our best chances weren't even the ones that were on goal. Our best chances came when we shanked it. The Sam Surridge one that went way off, the Teal Bunbury one that went off. I don't even know. Is Hani's when he hit the crossbar, is that considered a shot on goal?
I think you have to, because if it hit the goalie's finger,
it hit his finger.
That was crazy, by the way. I didn't know Hani had that in the bag, Like he blasted that thing from 40 yards away and hit it so hard that it bounced off the crossbar. And then like 20 seconds later, you see the goalkeeper holding his finger. He had to stop the game. We found out that the goalkeeper actually got a finger on it, pushed it to hit the top of the bar, and then got injured in the process.
40-yard shot. Yeah, 40-yard shot hard enough to hurt a goalie's finger through all that padded glove.
Yeah.
So the question is, had he taken 2 or 3 more steps in, do you think that pushes the goalie's hand and goes in?
I don't know, man. That's one of those goals where I can't, from 40 yards out, the fact that he even attempted it, I don't know what would have happened had he had been 38 yards out, maybe 2 more steps. To me, I'm just like, dude, that was a great shot. That was an amazing shot. Well done. That's an MVP. That's what they do, except put it in the goal next time. But hey, it was fun to see.
Better.
So, yeah. Yeah, it was fun to see.
We need to make sure that it's put in goal. And I know, Austin, you and I were both watching the game together, along with a lot of our La Brigada fans. To some of us who were listening last week, if you paid attention to our socials, we did put out our guys at Southside are closed on Mondays, and we thought they would be open for us, but we're not able to get that going. So we did have a little bit of a split watch between some of the other SGs. I know we were watching it with some of the La Brigada guys. I know, Tunji, you were watching it with some of our Roadies fans. These are other supporter groups or SGs that are a part of Nashville SC soccer, for those of y'all who don't know. But Austin, me and you were watching it together, and I know that both you and I have talked about it a little bit on game day. I know we're ready to talk about it again today. We had more fouls than we did shots at all, period. We had 13 fouls compared to our 7 shots. So I got to know, do you think that this is the best formation for us? How do we avoid these fouls? What in the world are we going to do to kind of switch that?
Some of it's just being undisciplined. Some of it I felt were questionable calls. We talk about every time, like the refs. I'm not sure if there's a bias towards Nashville SC. Regardless, you got to play more disciplined. Anibal Godoy was all over the place. I wasn't really sure. I haven't really felt that about him I feel like he's pretty good positional player. Yeah, he can play fired up some, but yeah, he just wasn't there on Saturday or Monday rather. He just wasn't there mentally, and I feel like we weren't capitalizing in the midfield because of it. When it got to the final third, I thought our strikers weren't taking bad chances. We didn't have as many as I would like to see, but the chances that we made were not accurate chances. However, we had the ball where we needed it, where we wanted to put it. If we capitalize on 2 of those 3 chances, we win the game. And it came down, game of inches. Every sport can talk about that. But this one really did come down to a game of inches. It was a game of inches for Hani's goal that we just talked about. It was a game of inches for Teal's header in the box whenever he came in. It was a game of inches for Sam Surridge's whenever he shanked it. And it just came down
yards. Game of yards. That's how bad
yards
both
for
of
that
those
one.
guys missed or whatever they use. Whatever for Sam, whatever.
Sorry, they were inches away from the goal. They were inches away from the goal.
Nah, dude, the game of that Sam had.
No. I'm saying the player was inches away from the goal. Their shot was not.
I understand what you're saying. I see now. I understand. Oh my gosh, yeah, no, it was bad. It was bad. The fact that we missed those shots in that way was bad, but I think you have to think about. Look, Cartagena, Wilder Cartagena for Orlando. This is not a guy who you expect to do that, but he's a guy that. You know he can do it. He's just not. That's not his job. So what has been hurting us the most recently, right? Our midfield.
I mean,
right?
It's not just our midfield. It is our forwards not finishing, and part of that has to do with the fact that we have a midfielder who is not finishing and is falling quickly. We have a midfielder who's
that?
I mean, it's Hani. I mean, Hani, I know plays as a forward, but he's falling soft and he's falling early. So, yeah. I mean, is this just his play style getting in his own way, or do we need to change something up and try something new?
I think, look, what I was getting to with the Wilder Cartagena in our midfield is. Right now, like what I saw from Hani last night was on Monday was a lot of effort. He put a lot of effort in and was the only person I felt like understood how to play in playoff mode, right? Like everybody else was not there. They were not, to me, the only one who was there was Hani Mukhtar. And yeah, his style I think the falling can get in his way. Because right now he's just, for some reason or another, he's not getting called for it. Maybe he needs to take better falling classes or better diving classes. I don't know, but it's just not going for him. But he understood what was at stake in that playoff game. It was like win or go home, and then have to win twice because now we're playing at home and it's elimination. But like
it's a have to win twice in this style of playoff.
But that's why he took that shot from 40 yards out, because he understood like this is what it is at this we're not playing for goals for points anymore. We're playing to win the game.
Win first.
And Wilder Cartagena understood that too. We didn't have anyone else in our midfield that understood I'm going to have to start taking shots if we want to win. So, yeah, we lost. I think the reason that we lost, and I did say that our shot actually was higher, but look at the volume of shots that Orlando got off, because they understood the game that is being played in playoffs, and we did not.
Yeah, I think that it also comes down to you look at the volume of shots. We aren't taking the chances. If we took the chances and actually had high volume shots and capitalized on one of those, you look at their volume of shots but versus their shots on net, our defense was doing their job. Outside of that one shot that I actually likened it to Messi's goal against us in Leagues Cup, it was just a heck of a shot. Couldn't place it any better. And we got beat that way. I think our defense did what they needed to do. Our offense has to put higher volumes and has to capitalize. And like I said, we win the game if we capitalize on 2 of those goals. Imagine if we had, 7 more shots on net. We probably would have capitalized. But
that's what I'm saying.
it comes down
we
to
got to
volume,
make the statistics
sure.
work. We got to make the statistics work for us if we're going to continue playing this style or with these guys. Or again, maybe these guys don't have the accuracy. Maybe that's why they're not taking shots.
Well, I mean, it's not just us that have to do that. It's not just our boys that have to do it, but it's Gary that has to make sure that he's putting the people in place to get that done. It's Gary who's their coach, their trainer, their manager. He's got to be the one to push that forward. And I think a lot of us have seen his style of play when it comes to the 4-4-2, his Gary ball, his park the bus in the second half. It's not going to make a good playoff run if we're continuing to move on that. Now, I will say he implemented what I consider this year is our first year really truly implementing the diamond style of play with the right people in place. That's been one of our better options. This last game, it wasn't really there. There were parts of it that were, parts of it that weren't. And we've kind of gone back and forth on it since League's Cup. Some games we've had it and we've done really well. Some games we've gone away from it and we haven't. So, I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, is Gary putting it really in the right direction? Like, is he pointing us in that right direction to win the playoffs? I know we talked about, the playoff runs in general, but I need to know. I need to know if we're going in the right way to be able to make it past the first round in this new playoff system.
It sounds like you're asking. It sounds like he's asking.
Rhetorical, or is he asking?
No. He's
take it.
It sounds like he's asking if it's Gary in or Gary out.
It's definitely.
And here we are again.
Here we are. The conversation. Has to be had once a year.
It does need to start, but I tell you what. I mean, well, let's ask Tunji, Gary in or Gary out?
Me?
Yeah, Gary in or Gary out?
No,
and why?
You know my answer. It's going to be Gary in, and the reason is that I just don't believe that it's Gary's fault wholly. I believe that for some reason or another, he had a good midfield last year, or was it last year or 2 years ago? Anyway, we had a good midfield, and then they let them age, didn't bring in the right people. Took forever to find Sam Surge. But if you give me one more year of Gary tactics, Gary ball, and Gary sweater suit thing that he wears, I think that we might have and you give him, now you focus on just spend the whole rest of next offseason getting us a better midfield and some younger guys in the draft and some depth. I think that we go into next year looking good once Sam Surge gets going. So I'm Gary in. I'm Gary in.
The midfielder that we brought in was Fafa, and he's 32 years old.
He's just saying, man. There. Give Gary. I just want to see one more. I'll give Gary one more year. I want to see. I want to see better midfield.
Gary in or Gary out?
I'm Gary out, and not because I dislike Gary Smith. I actually do like him as a coach. I don't think that he is the coach for the players that we have. So if you want to give him one more year to try to get different players, maybe. But with the players that we have, unless that changes, Gary's not the guy to bring it home for us.
And honestly, I could go either way. I know we've talked about this when it comes to objectivity for me, but I really could. I can see why I would want him out. There's a lot of frustration with that. It does feel like it happens once a year, and I feel at least once a year rather. And so I feel like that might be a little too much for a coach. But on the same side of things, again, I like his style of play, much like Austin just said. I do like that style. But we have to put the right people in place. We have to have the right trainers in place. And I feel like he has enough pull to make those things happen. But it has to happen now, and it has to happen as fast as possible. And it has to be as smooth of a transition for our boys as possible, so that we can get back to what matters, which is winning. And that's going to be the biggest part, because when we win, we have fun. We've all talked about that when it comes to our games at home. When it's a winning environment, it's a fun environment. And that kind of leads us into our next segment. So when we come back, we're going to talk about how entertaining Nashville soccer really is. And I think you're going to want to stick around, especially for what Austin's got to say about it. We will see you in just a second.
NSC, NSC, all the way to NSC, NSC.
We've got a question.
Oof.
Are you entertained or are you not? That's what we want to know. All right.
To be or not to be entertained is the question.
Now, so the reason that we asked this, and you know me, I am Zeets by Tunji the Creative on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. The talk that I see often around Nashville SC, whether we've lost a game or drawn a game, is always this is boring. Essentially, it's like kind of saying that it's boring style of play. It's boring to watch them lose 0-0 when they're not putting shots up, when they're not scoring goals. Which I gotta be real with you. I completely understand that, but it also messes me up a little bit. It just gets under my skin when the boys just fought a 1-1 draw. And we're not talking about the last match. I'm just talking about in general. When some of these games where they fought a 1-1 draw, and it was just such a heavy tactical game. And to me, it feels like the people who are calling it boring are just looking for goals, and they're not really watching for strategy. So when we talk about Nashville SC, especially with this loss in Orlando in a playoff match, that to me was fairly entertaining. Actually, maybe it was because of the intensity of the match, and
stakes behind it.
The stakes behind it. Maybe that was it. But it was entertaining to me. Is Nashville SC an entertaining team to watch or not? And what makes it entertaining for you, Austin?
I think that they are and aren't. It depends on which team shows up the night of, because we've talked about. I'll just bring up two examples. Both were draws, right? That's kind of what Nashville's known for, but both were draws. There was the Miami draw in Miami 2 games after Leagues Cup. And then I think it was the very next match was a draw at home to Charlotte. That was the tale of 2 games. The Miami scoreless draw was so entertaining. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I was ready to see what was going to happen. There were lots of chances. We were frustrating Messi. We were getting balls into the box that we just weren't capitalizing on, but we were actually getting balls in. We had chances, and I was so entertained. And then at the last second, there was like, is there a handball in the box or not? You know, it went to VAR, but unfortunately, Schaffenberg was offside. You know, but that made it so entertaining because of the style of play, the excitement, the going fast, because we had our speedy guys in. We had Schaffelberg and Fafa in at the same time, and we didn't have a big man in. So that one was so entertaining. Then the very next week might have been the most boring Nashville SC game I have ever watched. And there were goals in that game.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem that we have in general, is like there's a fast-paced Nashville and there's a slow-paced Nashville, and I feel like we're not finding our as ironic as it is. I don't feel like Nashville SC is truly finding their rhythm after Leagues Cup.
Did they need to get their groove back? Did they ever have the groove?
That's a question though, and that's the issue that I have with it, is like, we need to be able to see what the groove is like what, because beforehand, and I agree with Austin, like there have been some very entertaining matches. I feel like the beginning of the season up through mid-tier or midway through the season through June, like we had a lot of fun, like a ton of fun when it came to matches. I feel like it was a lot more entertaining to watch Nashville than it was a lot of other teams.
Why?
I mean, you had goals being scored. You had high defense being played. You had a goalie who literally made save after save after save after save and didn't have any issues. And then something flipped after June. I think July 1st came in and something switched where we turned into a team where Joe gives up a goal in every game he plays. And we've had 2 clean sheets since then, but That's 2 out of how many games have we played since July 1st? Like that's the way it feels. And then we've got, a goalie who's giving up goals. We've got a team that has found ways to make sure that they're not scoring. And that's the way I look at it, is they're just not finishing in the final third. We've seen that several times over. We've got frustrations that are leaking out left and right with fouls and cards, and as entertaining as that can be sometimes, it hasn't been recently. So it's kind of up in the air whether they are or not for me.
I think, and I hear everything you said. It sounds to me like it's not just if they're not scoring, it's like everything around why they're not scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not winning too, with goalkeeper not goalkeeping. I feel both of you. To me, Nashville SC is an entertaining team because of the strategy behind it. It's so interesting. I'm more of a, growing up playing sports, playing soccer, playing basketball as well, I was always more of a defensive guy. Like I just had a high defensive IQ. So that really was fun for me to frustrate the other team, and not, if you playing high school basketball and you hear all week, oh, this kid is ranked like 10th in the city and he's coming in and he's going to score and he's going to dunk on you. And the joy that I found, and like I wouldn't, in basketball, you're not going to stop someone from scoring. You could, and that's just an elite game. That's a perfect game. That doesn't happen rarely if you're stopping the best player on the court. But if you can take their stats down, deny them some shots, deny them points, that to me was always fun. So when I look at the way Gary plays, and I also think that you said earlier that he might have a lot more sway in the guys he gets, I think he does it. I just think that we're not that rich of a team. I think that either we're not a rich team, or we don't spend. We're cheapskates, whichever one. Like I think that
we don't spend.
If he has the right components,
but
then this style is very entertaining.
That's an issue either way when it comes to whether we're spending the right amount of money or not. Because if we don't have the money, what are we doing with our brand deals, our sponsorships? Like, I mean, we have literally 24,000 season tickets that were just purchased.
They just got purchased though.
Like but we had 22,000 for this year.
Yeah,
like but
that money came in slow.
Year.
That money came in slow. They announced real early this year. It's like, yo, it's sold out. You like those black kits? Yeah, the seats taken.
But that's the thing though. It's like that money's quick now, right? That money's there, and then at the same time, so that money's got to go somewhere, and then the money that we've had over the last couple of years, I feel like we're overpaying some players. I mean,
I feel like we didn't know they were going to age I don't know, but to me, because I don't. For me, I like fine milk, baby. To me, a lot of these players never passed the eye test to begin with. They passed
the ones that we've spent the money on that you think are not worth it in the past. I'm not talking about our current roster. I'm talking about ones that we've
what.
Yeah, I mean, we've got
yeah. I was like, yo, that set us back 2 years right there.
But that's the thing. It's like
2 years. Randall Leal, we've spent the money, but it's not working out. It's not working out.
Yeah, he's making what, $1 million right now, and he's hardly on the pitch. And when he is on the pitch,
almost 1.2.
He's not. He's one of the ones that isn't entertaining to me, which he can be at times. Yeah, but he's not out there. And
I think he looks entertaining. He's got like the flame tattoos on his neck, and every time he comes out, I'm like, yo, this guy's got to do something. And then he gets hurt, and I'm like, ow.
Yeah, and then he's out for half the season or more, and
he has the least amount of minutes this year than he has since he's been with Nashville SC.
So what's not entertaining us about Nashville, guys? I'll tell you what I'm telling you. Nashville can be an entertaining team when they are playing their game. Can be
doesn't mean that they are in the moment. So
of course not. They're not
having the potential, but like look at early in the season. I mean, we all watched it. They were on an 8-game no loss, or a 10-game no loss streak. They
Yeah.
had literally the longest streak in the MLS at that point in time.
They
I
had
think
some
it's
boring games
still
back then too.
the
If we're going
longest-
off of goals scored, they had some boring games when they were winning.
Boring games,
Ugly games, ugly wins.
They had a couple draws, a couple ugly wins, but then they also had the 3-1 against Atlanta. That was more than entertaining. More than entertaining. I mean, they had the 2-0, win against Orlando early in the season. That was a very entertaining game. They had
we got the one against St. Louis at home. That was fun.
So
3-1 or the 3-0.
Yeah.
Let me pose a question to you.
Go ahead.
Let me pose a question to you. Because what it sounds like to me is you feel like goals are entertainment, because the games that you're bringing up are the games where we are scoring. And so do you feel like Nashville can be entertaining in low scoring games or no scoring draws?
I mean, Logan? I feel like, okay, so we live in the US. We live in America, or the United States of America, rather, because we have Central and South and North, but
I know geography.
We live in the.
He's a teacher now.
But we live in the U.S. where our teams that we normally watch, our basketball teams, are high scoring games in the 80s to 100, 110, 120. We're watching football or American football, gridiron football, that may not necessarily have high scoring games, but they count more points. I mean, touchdowns are 6 points. Even though a game can end 2-3,
in scores,
it's 21 to 14. I mean, you'll have games like that, but like those are the things that we're used to watching. And then look at the games that are not as entertaining to watch, or not as high viewership. The NHL, arguably the best hockey league in the world. It's below the MLS even, because soccer is the most popular sport in the world now, but
and MLS has been Messi, and MLS has
Messi now,
but let's be real.
But you've got those two on the bottom tier of things, because games will end in a 0-0 draw. I mean, baseball at least goes into extra innings to try and create more time all the time. There's not a single baseball game that will
NHL
end in a draw.
Has overtime and penalty shots,
but they will never end in a draw. They took the draw away a long time ago. So that
NFL can
is
end
one
in a
of
draw.
the things. Rarely.
Yeah, that's pretty
rarely. It's happened once in the last 10 years, and yes, it was Pittsburgh, and we understand that.
It's happened multiple times in the last multiple seasons. You've had a draw multiple seasons in a row. Yeah.
No. There's definitely been draws in the last couple in the NFL, but this is a Nashville SC podcast. So look, I think when we're talking about what makes soccer entertaining, first off, you gotta remember what we're talking about. We're talking about the biggest sport in the world, the sport that everybody in the world plays. So obviously it's gonna have so many different meanings to so many different people. I think probably what I was running up against, the issue I had, was just going on Twitter. First off, X, excuse me, I almost dropped my persona there. going on X.
So you admit
it. And seeing people saying that the game is boring when I just watched one of the greatest tactical battles that unfortunately ended in a 0-0 draw, but it was so tactical, and the chances that were created and taken away were incredible to see. It kind of rubs me the wrong way, but I
understand that.
The game
I felt that way.
Say la vie, bro. Say la vie. That's life. Everyone's gonna have a different opinion. To me, Nashville SC is a entertaining team because of the style that Gary is trying to implement. And if you have other opinions, drop it in the chat. Drop it on the YouTube comments. Send it to us on Instagram. I don't care where you send it, but send it to us. Logan, you got something to tell us people before we head out?
I mean, absolutely. We want you guys to join us again at the tailgates. We want you to join us at our watch parties. We want you to join us, period. Go to mixtape615.com. That is mixtape615.com. Jump in with us there. Jump in with us on all of our socials, on Instagram, on Twitter/X, on Facebook. We want you in the mix with us. But that is a wrap on all of our stuff for tonight. I know we want more. I want more. You want more. But there is more coming. Tuesday night, we've got a game here in Nashville at Geodis Park against Orlando. It's game number 2. And for Nashville, it's do or die.
It's do or die, baby. Yeah.
Nashville, it's do or die. So we want you guys home. There.
We need the fans in the stadiums. We need butts in seats. We need it to be as loud as it was in Orlando when they came at us. Now we got to go back at them. Let's go.
Absolutely. I went Leagues Cup energy.
Leagues Cup energy, or don't come in.
Leagues Cup energy for both our players and our boys.
And our boys.
When it comes to Leagues Cup final. We definitely want all that energy there. We want all of the smoke. We want all of the fun. We want all the fireworks. We want you guys there with us. Thank you guys for joining us on another one of our amazing podcasts. Our listeners, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys for jumping in. Doug, our producer, special shout out to you again. We could not do this without you as well. And for everybody here, all of us in the mix, we want to say thank you for joining us. And until next time, until you see us next, Mixtape is signing off.